Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. In video 2, if you remember, we covered registers, the CPU's fastest, smallest storage. Today, we zoom out and cover the full memory hierarchy: RAM, ROM, cache, secondary storage, and virtual memory. This topic is tested constantly in IBPS SO papers because it is rich in comparison style questions: RAM versus ROM, volatile versus non volatile, HDD versus SSD. Exactly the kind of which one is which question that's either an easy mark or an easy trap, depending on how solid your fundamentals are. The organizing idea for today: memory exists in hierarchy, a trade off between speed, cost, and capacity. The fastest memory is the smallest and most expensive. The largest memory is the slowest and cheapest. Keep that trade off in mind through the whole video because it explains why each type of memory exists at all. Picture this pyramid. At the very top, registers. Inside the CPU, extremely fast, extremely small, extremely expensive per byte. As you move down the pyramid, cache, then RAM, then secondary storage like your hard drive or SSD. Each step down, you gain mass capacity, but you lose speed. The memory hierarchy. Registers, they are the fastest of all. Size is the smallest. Cost per byte, highest. Are they volatile? Yes. What is the meaning of volatile? Volatile memory loses its content when power is turned off. So, as soon as you shut down your system, everything that is stored in registers will be lost. Cache, speed is very fast. Size, small. Cost per byte, very high. Are they volatile? Yes. RAM, speed is fast, size is medium, cost per byte is moderate, and they are also volatile. Secondary storage, slowest of all. Size, largest. Available in GB or even TBs. Cost per byte, lowest. Are they volatile? No. That means they will retain their content even without power. Everything that is stored in secondary storage will be as it is even if the system is shut down. Registers, cache, RAM, they all are volatile. So that is why your unsaved work disappears if your system crashes. RAM is the computer's primary working memory, where the operating system, running applications, and currently in use data live while the computer is on. Why is it called random access memory? Because the CPU can access any memory location directly and immediately, regardless of its physical position. Unlike in a tape, where you have to scan sequentially. What are the characteristics? Volatile. Contents are lost when power is removed. Directly accessible by the CPU for running programs and active data. Measured in GB on modern systems: 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM. More RAM generally means more programs can run smoothly at once. RAM itself is split into two types, and this distinction is frequently tested. First is SRAM, that is static RAM. Second one is DRAM, that is dynamic RAM. So, does it needs refreshing? SRAM? No. DRAM? Yes. Needs to be refreshed thousands of times per second. Speed? For SRAM, it is faster. DRAM is generally slower. Cost? SRAM is more expensive. DRAM is cheaper. SRAM is used for cache memory, and DRAM is your main system RAM. Circuit complexity: SRAM more complex, more transistors per bit. DRAM simpler, fewer transistors per bit. The single most important exam fact here is SRAM is used for cache because it is faster, even though it is expensive, but cache is small, so the cost is manageable. DRAM is used for your computer's main RAM because you need a lot of it cheaply, and some speed loss is acceptable. If a question asks which type of RAM does not need refreshing, that is SRAM. If it asks which type is used as a computer's main memory, that's always DRAM. ROM, read only memory, is the direct contrast to RAM. ROM is non volatile, meaning It keeps its data even without power. ROM typically stores firmware, permanent, rarely changing instructions like the BIOS. Remember, we have discussed in video 2, which needs to be available the instant the computer powers on before any operating system is loaded. So, what are the characteristics of ROM? It is non volatile, it retains data without power, primarily used to store firmware like BIOS. Traditionally read only, but modern variants can actually be rewritten. Now, types of ROM. First is MROM, that is masked ROM. Can it be rewritten? No. It is programmed permanently at manufacture. ROM, programmable ROM, can be programmed once by the user using a special device, cannot be changed after. So it can only be programmed once. EEPROM, erasable programmable ROM, can be erased using UV light and reprogrammed. EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable ROM, can be erased and reprogrammed using electrically without removing it from the circuit. So this is a classic direct recall sequence question. The key distinguishing fact for each is PROM, written once by the user, never again. EEPROM, erased using UV light. EEPROM, erased electrically, which is why EEPROM is the most flexible and closest to what's used in modern flash storage and BIOS chips today. So in the hierarchy, we saw registers that we have already covered in video 2. We have seen RAM, ROM, but we have not seen cache. So what is a cache memory? Cache sits between the CPU and RAM, and its entire purpose is speed. The CPU is extremely fast. RAM, while fast compared to storage, is still much slower than the CPU. Cache exists to bridge that gap. It holds copies of frequently used data and instructions so that CPU does not have to wait on slower RAM every single time. Cache itself is organized into levels based on proximity to the CPU core and correspondingly speed and size. First is level 1. It is built into the CPU core itself. It is the fastest and size is the smallest. L2, close to the CPU, sometimes per core, meaning that every CPU core has its own L2 cache, but this may vary by design and that is why sometimes is written. Speed, fast. Size, larger than L1. L3, shared across all CPU cores. Speed, slower than L1, L2, but still faster than RAM. Size, largest cache level, several MBs. The pattern to remember: L1 is the closest to the CPU, fastest and smallest. L3 is the furthest from individual core and it is slower and largest of all. Remember this mini hierarchy of cache. Secondary storage. Secondary storage is where your files, applications, and operating system live permanently. It is non volatile, meaning everything stays intact even when the computer is off. This is the base of our pyramid. Remember the pyramid? It was at the bottom with largest capacity, slowest speed, and cheapest per byte. HDD or hard disk drive is a high capacity storage device found inside computers or used externally as well. It stores data magnetically on spinning circular disks called platters. A mechanical read write head moves across the platter to access data. So, see the picture in the left side. This is a hard disk drive, and this is the platter where data is stored. And this is the head, which moves across the platter to access the data. Because it is mechanical, it is relatively slow and has moving parts that can wear out. Cheaper per GB compared to SSD, and therefore HDD is better for large capacity and budget storage. SSD, solid state drive, another storage device that stores data electronically using flash memory. No moving parts at all. If you will see here, there are no moving parts and it has chips. Much faster than HDD for both reading and writing. SSD is more durable, no mechanical parts to fail, it is quieter and more power efficient, and therefore more expensive per GB compared to HDD. HDD versus SSD. First of all, you should know that both HDD and SSD serve as the main internal storage drive where your laptop keeps everything: the operating system, your software, your personal files like photos, documents, movies, etc. Here is how laptops use them today. Modern laptops come with an SSD. Manufacturers use SSD because they make laptops turn on instantly, open app in seconds. Older or budget laptops used to come with an HDD to keep costs down while offering large storage space like 1 TB. Then there are dual drive laptops, some older gaming workstation laptops that included both a small SSD for fast system booting plus a large HDD for storing heavy files. Now, quick comparison: HDD storage method, magnetic spinning platters; SSD flash memory, no moving parts. HDD speed is slower, SSD is faster. Durability lower in HDD because it has a mechanical wear and tear. SSD higher because there are no moving parts. Noise, yes, in HDD it has spinning and head movement, therefore it is noisy. SSD is silent. HDD is cheaper, SSD is more expensive. Now, if you're curious whether your laptop has HDD or SDD, you can easily check that. When you open Task Manager and go to the Performance tab, look at the left side bar under the drive list. It states whether your disk has SSD or HDD. Other secondary storage mentions: first, magnetic tape, sequential access only, not random access like a disk. Important point. It is very cheap per GB, mainly used for large scale backups archival. It is the slowest of all. So, all the organizations for backing up their data files use magnetic tape. Second, optical media, CD, DVD, Blu ray. It uses a laser to read and write data on a reflective disk surface. We will see the comparison shortly between CD, DVD, and Blu ray. Memory cards, SD. Tiny removable flash memory cards widely used in cameras, smartphones, and portable devices. Functions like a miniaturized SSD. It is shock resistant storage in a paper thin size. Quick comparison between CD, DVD, and BD. You should know the full form. CD is compact disc, DVD is digital versatile disc, and BD is Blu ray disc. Storage method is this: BD is the highest, it can store from 25 GB to 100 plus GB. Compact disc, very small, around 700 MB, and DVD is around 4.7 to 8.5 GB. Laser type in CD, it is red and infrared, around 780 nanometers. DVD, red, 650 nanometers. BD, blue violet, around 405 nanometers. This is the reason Blu-ray holds so much more data. A shorter wavelength laser can read write smaller and more tightly packed data. Video quality: CD standard definition, DVD 480p, BD Full HD, and Ultra Blu-ray disc can support up to 4K. Common uses: music albums, old software; DVD, movies, TV box setups, PC games; and Blu-ray, 4K HD movies, PS4, Xbox games. Backward compatibility: CD, it can play in CD, DVD, and Blu-ray players. DVD, only in DVD and Blu-ray. And BD, it can only play in Blu-ray players. What are pen drives? A pen drive is a portable, lightweight storage device that combines standard NAND flash memory with a built-in USB Type A or Type C connector. While both SSD and pen drives use flash memory, SSD employ far more advanced controller chips, faster multi-channel memory modules, and higher quality cache system to sustain massive transfer speeds and endure constant read-write cycles. Now, virtual memory. Virtual memory is a technique where the operating system uses a portion of the secondary storage, basically hard disk or SSD, as if it were additional RAM. This extra space carved out of secondary storage is often called the swap space or page file. It allows the system to run larger programs or more programs simultaneously than physical RAM alone would allow. Trade off: since secondary storage is much slower than RAM, relying heavily on virtual memory rather than actual RAM slows the system down. That is why adding more physical RAM improves performance more than relying on virtual memory. Virtual memory is implemented via demand paging. We will learn more about virtual memory and demand paging in upcoming videos. So that was all for today's video. If you gained some insight, do give us a like. If you have any doubts, let me know in the comment section. And if you still haven't subscribed the channel, please do it so that you do not miss any important video. Next video will be operating systems fundamentals and CPU scheduling.